Holy Spirit Lesson 8. How do you receive the gifts of the Spirit? That's a good question, and we're going to talk about it. So a quick history lesson makes this make more sense. In Acts chapter 2, we see the Holy Spirit poured out on the believers for the very first time. And a lot of Christians today believe that basically when the apostles died, the gifts went away. And actually, a careful study of history sees different moments in time where certain groups and communities, sometimes the monks, sometimes reformers, sometimes different groups, whatever, they actually did continue talking about signs, wonders, deliverance, miracles happening among them at different points throughout church history, all the way up until today. But in the early 1900s, there was a group of people that became known as the Pentecostals, and they just went after this, and they would pray through the night. They would pray, they would fast. They sought the Lord to basically experience Acts chapter 2 poured out on them afresh. And finally, there's in Kansas City, there was a group that experienced it. In Azusa Street, there was a group that experienced it. Crazy testimonies happened. Australia saw this. England saw this. And all over the world, the Holy Spirit poured out afresh, just like in Acts chapter 2. And gifts started being poured out. Gifts of the Spirit started being poured out on believers, again, in large numbers for the first time in an unprecedented manner. Well, my belief is that they broke through into something, and we get basically for free what they paid a price for, that they opened a way and we get to walk into it. And so my experience is that gifts of the Spirit are actually very easy to get today. In fact, I personally have helped activate hundreds of people in the gift of prophecy, where they went in a short period of time with just a little bit of teaching. They went from having never prophesied before to ministering powerfully and seeing God do incredible things as they ministered in the gift of prophecy. That was just, it's just the reality that we get to live in. So how do you get a gift of the Holy Spirit? Well, 1 Corinthians 14:1 says, pursue love and earnestly desire spiritual gifts, especially that you may prophesy. And towards the end of chapter 12, it also says, earnestly desire the higher gifts. So some people do say that that God just sovereignly picks who gets what gift, and we don't get to say. And there is a verse, I think, towards the beginning of chapter 12, 1 Corinthians 12, that indicates something of that nature. But my question is, then why does Paul say earnestly desire these gifts if our desire has no bearing on what God chooses to give us? And so this is what I have seen. This is my stance. And it's what I'm proposing to you is, if you want a gift, earnestly desire it. Now, if you earnestly desire it, what are you going to do? You're going to ask, you're going to pursue, you're going to look for opportunities of where maybe somebody is already operating in that gift and they have fruit of ministry, like living that out in real life. And you're going to ask maybe, hey, can you teach me? Can you help me get this active in my life? And, if you're going after healing, I've heard this testimony from tons of people where they're just like, I am going to see God be a healer when I pray for people. And they just started praying for everybody they could find who needed healing. And it wasn't till maybe several hundred people into praying before they finally saw their first miracle. But the more people they prayed for, the more consistently they saw healing happen. And they saw the grace for this, the gift grew as they stewarded it. And so if you pursue it, if you earnestly desire it, pursue it. Also, there is a thing called impartation. I will do a whole video just on this, but it is where Paul makes reference to this in Romans and in 1 Timothy. But spiritual gifts can be given from somebody who has them to somebody who doesn't. And so again, find somebody who's already walking in what you want activated in your life. Ask them to pray for you and see what the Holy Spirit does.